Hey everybody, it's been a while. First, I'd like to apologize for the projection of my voice. I've got some fans going on, and because of an AC problem, seems like I resolved it, but right now we're at standby, just looking to see as to whether or not it's going to stay fixed. So for right now, while I'm checking on it, sitting around waiting on it, just to catch y'all up, I'm still working with this brand new job. I'm not working out of my car anymore. It's a lot of tiring work, but we're on break in between shows, so it's a good thing to do to take advantage and come back here and you know talk about some stuff. I want to thank anybody and everybody that shows any kind of support and and labeling a comment and all this good stuff. And hopefully you're watching all the other guys that are doing this professionally. Everybody on the Young Turks and Bo of the Fifth Column and BTC and all of them, Ring of Fire, all of them, because they're all exposing a lot of truths. But the difference between them and me is that they're the ones that are doing the shouting and the over passionate reports and everything, and you can't blame them. I mean, a lot of the stuff that they're bringing out is very shocking. I might actually be doing so a little bit also, but it's a little bit more of a put down kind of passion that I just have to do. I'm sorry, I'm not. It may not seem professional, but I'm not the professional. I'm just a guy in Texas working for a living, and I'm throwing my comments out there. So what comments are coming up right now? Okay, well, I've got 3 incidences that took place here in Texas just in this month alone. Okay, and I'm going to start with the most idiotic one. The Texas mall shooter over in Allen Premium Outlets, Allen, Texas, north of Dallas. It's a big giant outlet mall. Those of us here in Texas, we're pretty much used to seeing something like that. It's about the size of a small town, and it's nothing but shopping malls on an outlet formation, outlet mall formation. Okay, it's nothing new to us. We have tons of them out here, but and so a lot of people who are reporting from other states and stuff, they're like, "Look, this is a ginormous place," and all this other crap, and trying to add on to the suspense of finding the killer. Now, the killer has been caught, the shooter. He was 33-year-old Mauricio Garcia. That's right, the same last name as mine. But the difference between me and this young doofus is that he's a neo-Nazi sympathizer. Okay, Garcia. Now, I'm going to get back to him. But before I do, I'm gonna point out, yes, Garcia is a white European Spanish name. Okay, it's off the Latin-based country. Anybody Italian, anybody French, anybody Spanish, and anybody Portuguese is of the Latin-based language which formed those 4 countries. So technically they're all Latino. And as is this Garcia guy, Mauricio Garcia. He's a Latino. Now, yes, it does come from a white Spanish Christian-based country, Latin-based Christian country. But it's still Latino, okay? And for him to be a neo-Nazi sympathizer just makes him the biggest doofus ever. Now, I'll get back to him, but I want to get to the next crime. An SUV driver, a driver of an SUV in Brownsville, Texas, which is just north of the border, ran over a number of people at a bus stop and outside of a church that actually helps out migrants by way of feeding them and maybe providing some shelter or some clothes. They're not part of a government housing program, not by any stretch. Sorry, need my Java juice. the driver is not cooperating. He got caught. He's not cooperating with the law enforcement. You know, police are investigating, not determining whether or not it was a hate crime, despite the fact that all the clues say it was a hate crime. The driver was given ugly faces as he was driving by, shout out "Hooray for Venezuela" sarcastically, then turns around ignoring a traffic light intersection and the traffic in that intersection to do a U-turn, speed up, and plow through. I think they said it was a total of 35 civilians. Okay, and he's not. He's in a hospital bed right now after crashing his vehicle, after being apprehended, and he's not cooperating with authority. Now, this says to me that he's saying that says to me that he's not cooperating because he honestly believes he has rights not to. Okay. But what caught my attention out of all of this, that's speculation, but what caught my attention was that this was also a Hispanic Latino male. Hispanic-Latino male. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Hispanic is somebody that is of Portuguese descent. Anybody in the Iberian Peninsula, that's a Hispanic. There's still Latin-based speakers, because that's where they got their language derived out of, Latin. Ergo, even a Portuguese from Portugal all the way down to Brazilian can still call themselves Hispanic, but they could still identify themselves as Latino just simply because of that little fact, that their language, their culture, their stuff is based out of a Latin speaking culture, which eventually wound up forming its own country, and you know, adjusting their Latin-based language into a Hispanic form, which you know is their identity. You know, we don't call all white people colonial-based, you know, any more than we would call them, you know, 100 years later as Quaker-based or Amish, you know. Plus, whites come from a variety of different countries. Also, you know, you don't call somebody a Germanic-based white guy if he's British-based any more than you would say if he was Slavic-based. Okay, you just don't do that, you know. And that's what I'm referring to when I say now that same reference into the Latino Hispanic culture. You know, not all Latinos are Hispanic. Only if they're based out of Portugal. But the Portuguese can call themselves Hispanic and Latinos because the Portuguese originate out of the Latin speaking based culture that eventually wound up forming its own country, like the way the Italians formed their own country, like the way the French formed their own country, like the way the Spaniards formed their own country. Okay, now that that's clarified, Hispanic-Latino male uses his SUV to drive into a bunch of people at a bus stop. He will not cooperate, so obviously he wants a lawyer or something like that, which means he knows his rights. And that's probably the basis that he's going on in order to be uncooperative with the law enforcement. And all of those things are clues that say that it is a hate crime. Okay? Most who were ran over were migrants. Most. That's the key word. Which means there were some that were American. And that's a very serious issue. In my opinion, I think it should be a hate crime regardless. You know, but we'll see how that turns out. Right now, it's still up in the air. This is all still fresh. That happened earlier this week, last week. This is Monday at the time of this recording. This all happened last week. In fact, throughout the weekend. Cleveland, Texas. A gunman named Francisco Oropeza, he's 38 years old, known for shooting his gun outside in his yard, gets a neighbor asking him to please stop doing that because they have a baby that they're trying to sleep. This guy, Oropeza, goes into that house of the complaining neighbor, kills 5 people, one of them that baby, and then goes on the run. He gets found at his girlfriend's house under some laundry, obviously trying to see if he could fit whatever dress he could put on in order to escape, like the typical pussy that he is. What was angering a little, also adding into the fire, this was a Mexican national who had been 4 times back and forth since 2009 to 2016. He's been recorded jumping back and forth from U.S. to Mexico, and he's had a history of shooting his gun on his front yard for fun. Now, I'm aware of this tactic. It's a guy being street, okay? Because I've known people that have done that. They shoot out into neighborhoods. Now, the neighborhood that I was in was shooting out over the neighborhood into an open field that was out of in the neighborhood. Pistol being able to go as far as, I think 55 yards, and even longer downwind. So he was clearing that last row of houses, and into the yard, into the open field. Pow, pow, pow. And there's a lot of people that think that they're hood or street that try doing this kind of crap. Now, maybe this Oropeza guy was shooting out into an open field no differently than anybody here in San Antonio, because Texas is known for having that. They're known for having one little subdivision, but it's surrounded by open land, and the next neighborhood is technically about 4 or 5 miles, down the ways, where that is also surrounded by land. And some of them, they're also gated communities with only one entrance and exit point to get in and out of the neighborhood, which law enforcement doesn't have a problem with because of the fact that it just helps catch criminals when communities have only one point of entry and one point of exit. So it's possible the Oropeza wasn't doing anybody harm. Here's the thing, though. He went into the house to kill people, and he got away with it for a good while until he got apprehended. And for some oddball reason, this worthless governor of mine, Greg Gestapo Abbott, tweets out that he has sympathy for the 5 illegals and hopes that the gunman gets apprehended with a $50,000 bounty. Now, here's the thing. Those victims were American. It was the gunman that was a Mexican national. Whether he came here illegally or not, I don't know. He probably had a passport, which is the reason why he was known for jumping back and forth very easily across the U.S. and Mexican Mexican lines. Authorities know this from 2009 to 2016. The authorities and the government knew this guy, which was one of the ways how he was so easily captured. Putting on his girlfriend's bra and trying to balance in her high heels. I'm assuming because, again, he was found under the laundry. Like the pussy that he is. Now that I've gotten those 3 subject matters on, and you see how I feel about them, I gotta talk about our faith in hanging in there, in realizing that, this might be the new norm, but we still have strong reasons to keep the faith in achieving, in overcoming these little problems that make it the new norm. For example, that SUV driver mowing down mostly illegal or mostly immigrants, whether they were illegal or not, is irrelevant. You know, a lot of people are expecting a little bit more hate towards the immigrants because of this after Title 42 is removed. Title 42, you know, which technically isn't even a secure policy. It's just to deport people that are suspicious of carrying the COVID virus. You know, the virus that all the haters are saying is a hoax. You know, so it's done nothing but collect tax-paying dollars. And now that we have COVID tests all over the place, there's no need for Title 42. You know, every asylum seeker has a health check. Okay? And they're checked for tuberculosis, they're checked for STDs, they're checked for pneumonia, they're checked for, you know, any kind of virus, including the COVID or other kinds of coronaviruses, you know, swine flu, H1N1, what have you. You know, that's automatic. So, you know, screw Title 42. And everybody that thinks that Title 42 is the sole reason why everybody is being not allowed, well, they're just dummies, plain and simple. You know, but it's social political issues that are being thrown out there that are leading to horror stories and fear stories. And one of those people that is responsible for it is, again, this worthless douche of a governor of mine, Greg Abbott, you know, with his whole 5 illegal victims and all this other crap, and his ability to throw that out there and have everybody be upset with him on that while he's trying to access voter override to overturn elections. You know, any in particular a county that's mostly Democrat, which is just so obvious that that's also an act of hate, even if he's trying to legalize it to where it won't be a crime. You see what I'm saying? You know, and social and or political corruption, none of this should be forgotten. We should always keep it in our memory. We should always bear in mind that this is the different lengths that it goes to. You know, influence, such as that neo-Nazi supporter, the Beaner neo-Nazi supporter. Yeah, I'm calling him a Beaner. Garcia may be a white Spanish name, but it's a Latino name now. It's a Beaner name now. It is Garcia is Latino, plain and simple. You know, so this batcrap Beaner goes out to an outlet mall, shooting everybody in the name of sympathy for the Nazis. You know, which more than likely there were also some Anglos that got shot as well. But that's what influence does. Influence can turn the most idiot of people into a killer. How? Well, the same way that misinformation done, you know, by Greg Abbott, you know, the same way that you know, people with rights, you know, literally believe that they're entitled to do this. You know, whether brainwashed or influenced, you know, that stuff can derive the anger out of somebody to go lash out into a hate crime. And in this thing in Cleveland, there's no evidence saying that he was under the influence. But I'm saying, as a guy that knows people that are hood who have done stuff like shooting their guns outside in their front yard, even if they're not hitting anybody, even if the bullets are shooting out into nowhere, it doesn't matter. It's that hood mentality that makes you believe that you can do this, that you can shoot your gun outside of the yard and retaliate or lash out at anybody who objects. That's also anger influence, which leads to hate. Influence, equals anger equals hate. We all know this. We know this. And this is the reason why I'm saying we just got to keep the faith and keep our reason. We should never forget these kinds of things. We should never forget. It just helps organize and ascertain solutions to a problem, which leads to justice. Okay? Just hang in there. Bear in mind that it's not the world coming to an end. It's just a dumb bat crap beaner, whether it be a Nazi sympathizer or somebody that doesn't like immigrants or some immigrant that feels entitled, that has a purpose to show he's boss. It's not the end of the world. It's just influence equaling anger, equaling hate crimes, equaling hate itself. And we've got a long way to go still, again, because we have from guys that are hood to nobodies that are influenced to do these dumbass lashing outs, all the way up to our political leaders, like this worthless douche governor of mine here in the Lone Star State. All of this is just saying that we still got a way to go. You understand? I know you understand. We've got a ways to go before we can get rid of these douchebags, get them out of power, find a way to get the guns out of their hands, find a way to deport or jail or just plain imprison, cooperative or not, douchebags. Okay? We've got a ways to go. So hang in there. I want to thank y'all for hearing me out, and I hope y'all are taking good care of yourselves. Keep on keeping on. We'll see you next time. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.